Well, good evening, everyone. Diane Young here from South Pacific Private. Welcome to our Facebook Live on Are You OK? Navigating Mental Health Conversations. And while we wait for people to log in, and I apologise for us being a little bit late, we had a little technical issue, but we're now live and good to go. I would like to acknowledge that we're here today on the land of the Gayamagal people, part of the Eora Nation. The Gayamagal are the traditional owners and custodians of this saltwater land and saltwater country, and a part of the oldest surviving continuous culture in the world. We pay our respects to the elders past, present and emerging. So tonight we're talking about navigating what can often be difficult conversations about mental health. And I was thinking about this because there's been a lot of talk. I mean, we've had an Are You OK Day. It's a very big day. It's raised awareness in many sections of our community about how to have conversations with people about their mental health and also about our mental health. And there's two ways of thinking about this. The first one is, how do we understand how to ask the questions meaningfully, how to engage in supportive dialogue with those that we love and those that are around us. And all of that requires a number of things to consider. When I was thinking about this today, I was thinking about a couple of aspects of it. The first one was principally, what's our motivation for asking the question? Because I think we can become a little too flippant about, are you okay? And, waiting for a response, pressing someone if they don't give us the answer. If we think they're struggling and we ask them if they're okay and they don't respond in the way we want, we can get a little pushy. Now, from my perspective, there's two ways of looking at this. And one of them is, are we asking the question because we're trying to fix somebody? We want them to be different to how they are. For example, if we're talking in the realm of family, friends, close work colleagues, sort of extended family, if you will, and those we're in relationship with, there'll often be an opportunity for us to ask the question, are you okay? You don't seem all right. But if we're asking from the perspective that we're trying to fix them because we want them to be different to how they are, then we will often will lose them in the first question. If, however, we're asking the question because we're trying to be of service to them, it's a very different energy. When we ask somebody, are you okay, from a position of wanting to fix them, we actually, in my opinion, put ourselves on a better than stage. We're actually coming at it from a position of strength. I can help you. I know what you need. Now, if the person who's not even aware that they're struggling as much as they are has an experience of us asking that sort of question, we'll lose them. However, if we meet them where they are as an equal in terms of service. Now, for those people that have been in South Pacific and understand that we're coming at this from the view that what we have between the other, us and the other, is a sacred space. What I share with you about myself, the truth I tell you about myself, I'm not necessarily going to be telling everybody. So it becomes a sacred space that I'm holding. And if I'm coming at it from that point of view, I will often have an opportunity to say to the other person that I'm speaking to, I'm can see you're struggling. Don't seem as light as you normally are. You don't want to join us when we go out so much anymore. Can I help in any way? And I think the Are You OK campaign and the gentleman who started it, which was a result, I believe, of his father suiciding, it's fabulous. And there's in no way am I criticising it. But I think I'm thinking of it from a point of view of what do I offer to the other person. So there's a couple of things. Before I'm asking the question, I'm thinking, am I prepared? Do I have time to sit with someone? Can I slow myself down and sit with them while they do share what's going on for them? There's no point in me asking a question if I've got a pressing engagement half an hour later. What can I offer in terms of, have I got a bit of an idea of where we might go for the next step if they do want help? Do they need GP? Do they need to ring South Pacific? Can I sit with them while I make that phone call? What are the things that I could do in a supportive way? And it may just be sitting with someone while they make a phone call. And have I picked my moment? Am I somewhere private? If they're going to become distressed, I don't want to put them in the position where they're overtly distressed in a public place. Perhaps, I've got an opportunity to, even if we're having a coffee or something, get them in the car, take them somewhere private so that they can feel like they can be authentically in their own pain without feeling like everyone's staring at them. So it's asking the question, is there anything I can do to help? Is there anything I can do to be of service to you? I'm concerned about you. I would like to be here for you. And for those of you that have been on the other side of the question, that have actually heard it, you'll know that the way it's asked and the energy with which it's offered will determine how you're going to respond to the question. Listening, we have to take time. When we often, in the profession that I work in, of course as a psychotherapist you know that, we spend a lot of time listening. And if I'm coming from a point of view, even with a client where I'm trying to fix someone, I'm going to burn out a whole lot quicker than if I'm sitting with them in service to them. There's a very big difference to that. And then the next step is, am I encouraging action and offering support? And even if it's the point of view of they don't want to do anything straight away, but as I leave them, I say, look, I'm going to check in with you tomorrow. Is that okay? I don't want to leave you with this on your own. One of the things that most people will speak about when they hit the wall of any sort of mental illness, addiction, if their PTSD symptoms come up, anxiety, depression, all of those things that we treat at South Pacific Private, when they come up, you will know, you know if you've had that experience, that you sit with a lot of aloneness and loneliness. There will often be times where clients will say to me, I feel like I don't belong, I feel like I don't count, I feel like I don't matter. And if we're coming from that point of view, if we're trying to tell someone what they should do, fix them, when they're still struggling with how they even got into this situation or how they ended up feeling like they do, we're not going to win them. So, talking about family and friends, that's a given. Work colleagues, of course, particularly if you work in the in any sort of service industries, particularly emergency services, the SES, police, fire, ambulance, at the coalface all the time. And if you're living with or you're friends with anyone who's working in those fields, they will often be experiencing traumatic events quite regularly, and it's always good to encourage them to get help, even if it's just a download about the event. If we're a member of sporting clubs or any of those sort of things, we will often come across people, and we may not know them intimately well, but we'll check when there's something not right about them. You're having a game of golf with somebody, you'll know then they're not on their game, and I'm not talking about whether they're reaching their handicap either, just quietly. You'll know that they're not quite right. I know another time of real change in people's lives is new parents and how they struggle, particularly when they have their first child. They struggle with lack of sleep. Suddenly they can't just nip down the shops or, go on the holiday. It's not quite as simple as it was when you were single. And that can be difficult to navigate. I think it's always good to have mother's group, father's group around you to be able to share with the commonality of what it's like to experience that. Last month we talked about grief and loss. That will always come up as another time in our lives where we feel very lost and alone. And sometimes when we're in the middle of grief and loss, and it's quite significant, we won't be able to say, there's often a situation where after a period of months, you'll think, no, I shouldn't be talking about this now. I should be over it. Well, that's nonsense, and we talked about that last month. And if you didn't hear it, even though it was me, I think it was a pretty good session on grief, and I'd support you to go onto the South Pacific YouTube channel and have a look. Relationship issues always, when we're in conflict in our relationship, and it can often be that we're not the right one to talk to our partner about what the trouble is, but what we can do very gently is suggest they reach out and get help. Now, for anybody who's experiencing any sort of mental health issues, we have a number of self-assessments, anonymous self-assessments on our website, and you're welcome to log on and answer a few questions with that and just get a bit of an idea about whether what you think is happening is actually happening to you. And then, of course, the next step is to ring intake and have a chat with them about it. So the other group of people that I wouldn't want you to forget are the strong ones in your life. The people who always turn up for everybody else, who seem like they never have a problem, who will often be the ones that will be there organising, sorting out, all of that sort of thing. So don't forget to check in on the strong ones. So coming back to the original point that I opened with, when I talked about the difference between helping and serving, what I want to say to you is this. If we think we're helping someone, i.e. fixing them, we'll often, without realising it, give the impression to the other person that they are in our debt. So when you help someone, there's a sense that they will owe you. But serving, like healing, is mutual. It's that mutuality. There's no debt, and I'm serving the person that's in front of me. And I'm doing it because I'm a human being. I can see that you're struggling, and I'd like to offer you any sort of assistance you need. When I help, I have a feeling of satisfaction. When I serve, I have a feeling of gratitude. It's very different, also, albeit so subtly, it will be the difference between offering the fixing, helping. I can help, I can fix, I can make it better. To I can help serve you. That is, I can meet you where you are, and together we can get help. Now, we have some wonderful assistance available. I mean, there's all sorts of things, Lifeline and all those other helplines. But I do know, that sometimes people, even clients, will ring me and they'll say, I want to make an appointment. I haven't never seen a therapist before, or something like that. And we'll make the appointment. And days before the appointment's due, they'll cancel. And they cancel because they get frightened. They get frightened because they're going to talk about things they don't normally talk about. And what I would be saying, and it happened today, a lady who'd rung, cancelled, she's come back. She said, I do need the help. It was, a month or two ago. And so she, with any luck, she'll actually arrive for the appointment that's booked, and we'll get her the help she needs. So I think that there's often a way of offering the help. I think the Are You OK Day is a fabulous opportunity for all of us to come into increased awareness. And I do think it's very important that we take a moment to think about what time I do it, do I have time, what can I offer, have I picked my moment, and what am I going to say? And if they can't get the help, if they don't want the help immediately, arrange to check in the next day or a couple of days later. I had a client who was fabulous, doing very well. thought he was doing exceptionally well, and he was, because he was doing everything he was supposed to do. And he decided in his wisdom to stop taking his medication because he felt so great. He said, I don't need it now. Not actually recognising that the reason he was doing so well is because he was doing everything, including taking his medication. And of course, what happened was he became suicidal. It was dire. So he was in. We arranged to get him into South Pacific, but of course sometimes you can't get a bed immediately, so he had to wait a week. So I made arrangements to ring him at 7:30 every morning. I said, I'm going to ring you at 7:30 every morning, and I want you to pick up that phone and you tell me that you're okay, and I want an agreement that if you think you're going to harm yourself, you're going to ring me. And we made this agreement. And I rang him and I said, the downside for you is if you don't pick up the phone at 7:30 in the morning, I will ring the ambulance and the police and get them to go and check on you. And he didn't want that. So he picked up the phone, he got back into South Pacific and got his medication checked. It got sorted out in the space of a few weeks, and he's as good as gold now. And sometimes we have to go the extra mile for people because they can't hold for themselves. When I'm talking about being of service, I'm talking about holding a space for someone else. And they're largely holding a space. You're holding a space so they find their way through their darkness back into some sort of light. Many of us have experienced the loss of people through suicide, accidental overdose, alcoholism. And oftentimes there will be those of us that are left will be saying, why didn't they reach out to me? And there'll be anger from the people who are left behind that they weren't allowed to be of help and to serve the person. Because none of us, in my view, want anyone else to suffer. And for those of us that have suffered at some point in our life, we don't want anyone to suffer more than they have to. We want them to get the help. We live in a first world country with a wonderful health system. There are fascinatingly talented therapists I know of that can help. All you have to do is to be willing to ask. Now, I just want to quickly run through the comments that have come in. Let's say, Donna, hi, thank you. And Anne, great, absolutely right, that's good. Chris Brooks, expert in this space related to your post today. Thank you very much, Mike. David. All too often it feels like lip service from workplaces, and it's even asked in a joking way that really doesn't allow for someone who's not, I've lost it, where did it go? Who's not okay to open up. And I agree with that, David. And that's why we do need a community around us, a community of trusted people. And if you don't have that, and some people don't, then go to a professional. Get your GP, get a referral, go to a psychotherapist, see a counsellor. There is help available. But I totally agree sometimes that, are you okay, kind of can be construed as joking. And none of it's a joking matter. So I totally agree with you. Thank you for that comment. Tyler. Thank you, Tyler, for posting. I asked my friends the UK Day. It was so nice to reach out. That's great, Tyler. Linky, good. It was so helpful. Great. And of course, I know many of us, the people that are putting comments on, have recently lost people that they loved and to suicide. And it's very painful. Debbie, colleague, reached out to me via Teams, simply said, are you okay? It made all the difference. She noticed how overwhelmed I was. Great. It was such a beautiful connection, made all the difference. I'm usually one asking. That's absolutely true. Isn't it true when I said before, we must also check in on the strong ones, the ones that are always doing the asking for everybody else. And certainly I learnt that. Carly, I don't get asked often, and today I was, and it was so good to be able to say no. Good. Carly, please reach out to us if you need support. We're absolutely here for you. Do not do it alone. You don't have to. Great. Thank you, Tyler. Yes, I'm pleased about that. I'm glad that we're getting in touch through Dr. Party. Lovely. There's great there's great initiatives in the community today. But what I do know is it's all very well to see the initiatives when we are feeling well ourselves and robust and strong. When we're not, and when we're feeling low and a bit lost about what's the next step, that's the very time that we would hope somebody would ask us, are you okay? South Pacific Private is always here for you. And I've seen many people, I couldn't even tell you how many, hundreds, thousands maybe, go through South Pacific. And I say to people, if you go in and you do what's asked of you at South Pacific, you do your 3 weeks, maybe you do transitions as well, you do a timeline, you do a first step, you start getting honest about the things that you don't usually speak about, you will get the help you need. And you'll leave. Thank you, Ian. Hello from the UK. Great. Lovely that you've logged on. You'll get the help you'll need, and you'll continue to get the support you need. You leave South Pacific with an aftercare plan that's very significant. And I know the people that have done all of that, left the hospital, done their aftercare plan, they change their lives. They go into recovery. It's not to say they never have a bad day again, but they don't go back to the desperation that they were in before they went into South Pacific. So, one thing I want to say is thank you for logging on tonight. Being in service to others, reaching out, asking if everyone's, if people in your life are okay, do they need a hand, do they need some support, how about a cup of tea? Donna, thank you. What if they always say yes, they're okay when you feel they're not? Well, I think if they're close to you, Donna, I think you're within your rights to say, look, I'm really hearing that you feel like you're okay, but it feels to me like you're, whatever it is, sad, not your usual self. And if you have awareness around some of the events in their life, you can say, well, if I'd been through X recently, I'd be feeling pretty low, and I just want to check on you. Now, sometimes we can't force the issue, but we can actually talk about, I said to a young woman I was working the other day, I said to her, do you know what a doily is? She said, oh, yeah, that little crochet things the little old ladies used to make. I said, yeah, that's right. Well, we don't have the elephant in the middle of the room and put a doily over it and pretend it's not there. We actually now are in a community where we can talk about these things. We have to respect each other's boundaries, but we're allowed to meet them where they are, not come at it from this point. So, thank you for joining us tonight. If you need some support, please reach out to South Pacific. There's a 1-800 number, 1300 number, 1300, what is it? 063332. You're welcome to, they'll receive calls from 8:30 tomorrow morning. And I believe there's a 1-800 that's overnight, and you can leave a message and I'll get back to you. Please do not suffer alone. You do not need to do that. So before you finish your evening tonight with whomever you live, before you go to bed, just check with your children, with the people that you love, with your flatmates, with your neighbours, with your community. Are you okay today? And that's where we'll leave it. Thank you very much. We'll see you next month. Signing out.